Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Monday, the 8th of June, 2026. I am Graham Hughes. I'm a bit close to the camera. Let me just pull away slightly there. The BBC, obviously, behind me. I haven't seen it on time. Almost, kind of. So, the time there. How are you all doing this very morning? I hope you're all feeling fruity and good. We've got Martin Harrow in the chat saying, of course it does, it's Market Manipulation Monday. It is indeed. There was a massive sell-off on Friday, actually. Was it $1.8 trillion written off the S&P 500? So, but yeah, war in the Middle East has started again. Not that anyone really thought that it ended, but we'll get into that in a moment. First of all, I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Sarah in there. We've got Lost Missionary as well. We've got Diz. We have got Elle in the chat as well, along with Francis and Saz. Welcome all. If you'd like to join our friends in the friendly chat, just hit the subscribe button and wait for a minute and you'll be able to join in with the chatty watty. Right, okay, so we're going to be talking about the Middle East because there's war in the Middle East, which makes a change. I was just thinking about this. The war in the Middle East, right? 1979, the Soviets invaded Afghanistan and the Islamic Revolution happened in Iran. And since then, it's been war pretty much the whole way through my life. Just war in the Middle East. Even when the Middle East was relatively safe to travel through, safer than it is right now, there was still technically a war going on in Iraq, in Afghanistan. It wasn't great. But yeah, all my life, 1979 to today, war in the Middle East. The ceasefire has ceased. The fire has started again. I don't think it ever really went out. And the most important fact this morning is that no one was being forced into this escalation. A ceasefire between Iran, Israel, and the United States has been in place since April. They're over a month now. And negotiations between Washington and Tehran were still ongoing. Donald Trump, of all people, was urging restraint publicly. And multiple reports suggest that Trump personally contacted Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and told him not to retaliate. Israel carried out strikes anyway, as you can see. Iran responded. Now both sides are exchanging fire once again. This is the result of political decisions. This is the result of decisions made by men, gruesome old men in suits, in the corridors of power, where it is not their children who are on the line here. It's other people's children. Just like Nigel Farage in this country with Brexit. It wasn't his children who had their freedoms taken away from them. No. It was everyone else's children, not his. When he sees the people queuing up to get into Europe, into continental Europe, this summer on their holidays ruined for millions because we're having to wait and get our passports checked and get our irises scanned and our fingerprints printed. And he's laughing because Nigel fuckface Farage, he flies in on a private jet to a private airport. He doesn't have to queue up like you, commoners. He's laughing at you. He's laughing at you, smoking a big cigar, and he's got a pint of lager, which he doesn't drink. He just holds that for the photo opportunities. He gets like really expensive wine. You know, those fucking wine bottles that cost like thousands of pounds for a single bottle of bloody fizzy grape juice. And you're like, what? Why is that so expensive? Oh, because he was bottled in 1947, and it was a great year. It was a vintage year, and he just drinks it like it was, lemonade because he can. He's so rich. Got a Coots bank account, hasn't he? He's got multiple houses. Anyway, back to the Middle East, which is a bit similar in that the rich never get affected by this. The people who are causing this upset, this horror, never affects them. And if it does affect their children, it's done on purpose, like to punish their children because they hate their children. Elon Musk being a good example of this with his daughter Vivian, who he absolutely fucking despises and wants to ruin her life. So he's ruining the lives of everyone who's trans. He's spending a lot of money doing that, as we are seeing the consequences of right now. What is it good for? Power and profit, the usual suspects, morning all. Yeah. Power and profit. And you know what? If you don't make any money directly out the war, you can make money indirectly out the war by making a movie about the war. About how the war made the Americans sad. They all got sad in the war. Oh, don't make me have to do these war atrocities because I get sad when I do war atrocities. Don't make me do. Oh, I've done a war atrocity. I feel bad now. I'm going to go home and cry. Fucking Hollywood. Anyway, so specific leaders made specific decisions, and those choices have consequences. Not for them. They're laughing. They're having a great time. You know, they're having a wonderful time blowing shit up. It's the rest of us. It's the rest of us who are having to deal with the shit, deal with the fallout from this shit. Do you think that Nigel Farage gives a fuck that petrol's gone up 50p? I don't give a fuck. He couldn't care less. He could still fly around in his private jet. He doesn't care. This doesn't affect him. You know, until recently, you didn't have to pay VAT on fuel for private jets. Did you know that? Private jets, no VAT. VAT was invented. The reason why it was created in the first place, over 100 years ago, was to put a tax on things that you weren't supposed to do. Luxury items like cigars and whiskey, right? And now we live in a country where private jets, their fuel isn't taxed in the same way that the fuel that you have to put in your car to go do your job as a teacher, or go do your job as a doctor or a nurse or a care provider. You have to pay tax, but they don't have to, because rich people really, really, really don't like paying tax. And that's why they have to invent ways of getting people to vote against their better interests. And they're so good at this because they've got so much money. You know, they need to get those right-wing governments in so they can basically not tax or anything, or find lots of loopholes for these rich bastards. And the way to do that is to get people to vote against their own interests. So they create a bête noire. They will create a nemesis for the people, a monster that needs to be slain. And it could be Muslims, it could be Jews, it could be immigrants in general, it could be asylum seekers, it could be trans women, it could be trans men, it could be gay men, it could be lesbians, it could be bisexuals, it could be anyone. Doesn't matter. Just pick someone out of a hat and go, all right, we're going to turn everyone against this group in society. Today it's Sikhs. Sikhs, oh, they get to carry a little knife, so we have to stop that. We have to stop them carrying a little knife because this guy used his knife to kill someone. But he didn't, did he? He didn't use his ceremonial knife for doing that, the one that they carry around, the one that they're allowed to carry around. He used a different knife, which he wasn't supposed to carry around. That you need a special permission to be able to carry around with him. That's what he used. But the refuck candidate for Makerfield, the sexist pig that he is, he was on Question Time last week, and he said that they should ban all knives. When they're in charge, no one's going to get to cook anything anymore, which makes sense because they just want everyone living off microwave food. People are saying BB got the files on Trump. My sweet summer child, BB is in the files. All ties of Epstein go back to Israel. It is a bit weird how much of a sway Israel has over America. Like, it is just Netanyahu who says, yeah, I'm going to do this, and Trump just salutes, you know? This is Trump who walked out from an interview for 60 Minutes yesterday because after 5 minutes, because he was asked questions he didn't like. He didn't like your questions, so he stormed off. It seems that VAT doesn't impact those it was designed to impact the most, the wealthiest. Private education was VAT-free. Private healthcare was VAT-free. Financial services are VAT-free. Yep, you're absolutely right. VAT was supposed to be for luxury goods. That's why it was on cake and not on bread. That's why it was on champagne, but it wasn't on milk. You know, like the everyday essentials were supposed to be VAT-free. That's why they don't have VAT on children's shoes, which is great if you're a tiny person. You get to not have to pay so much on your shoes, really. But somehow it's morphed into this thing that we all have to pay, but the rich don't, which is tax in general, which is just basic decency, I think. We have to abide by certain rules of basic decency, or we get ostracized from our friendship groups, or we get ostracized from society. They don't care. I don't care. So, Iran launched missiles against Israel. Israeli air defenses reportedly intercepted the missiles yesterday. The Israeli authorities reported no immediate deaths from the missile barrages. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, described the attack as the beginning of a full week of continuous strikes. And Iran also launched drones alongside missiles. The Israeli retaliation has been predictable. They have announced strikes on targets in western and central Iran, and Iranian state television has reported explosions in Tehran, in Tabriz, in Isfahan, and in Karaj. Israel later confirmed that strikes on a petrochemical facility in Mashhad. And there's additional fronts that are opening up. The Houthis in Yemen have announced missile attacks against Israel. The Houthis also declared Israeli shipping in the Red Sea as a target, which makes things difficult because it's hard to track really which country is carrying stuff for which country. You'll have a Panamanian flagged vessel that's the owners of the ship are Greek and the charterers are French, and its crew is put together by a British crewing company, and they might be dropping off in a port in Israel to drop off some things, pick up some Jaffa bloody oranges, I don't know. And so it's hard to say what's an Israeli ship, and there's too many ships that are registered in Israel. It becomes a bit difficult, and then what happens is ships will take themselves off, become shadow ships. You hear about shadow ships. They're the ones that turn off the transponder, so you can't check online where they are. Right? There's a reason why anyone anywhere can check where ships are, and also can check where planes are. There's multiple websites where you can check on where planes are flying to, and it's open to everyone to check that out. Why is that a thing? Well, for safety. We need to know where the ships are. You can't have a ship that's registered on the other side of the planet and it's coming through the Red Sea, and little narrow gap between Yemen and Somalia, and there's another ship in the area because it's not showing up on any of their charts or anything like that, and they don't know about it. The same with planes. You don't know who's flying where. So if you're a private aviator and you're flying your own plane, you need to be able to go onto a website and find out where the other planes are. You don't crash into the bastards. So this is why we do this. It's a safety thing. Now, what happens is when the Houthis say, right, we're going to target Israeli ships, ships will go, all right, I'll turn my transponder off. So the Houthis can't track where that ship is going, and then get ready with the rocket launcher on the seashore. And so it makes the whole world less safe. And the Hezbollah remained active in Lebanon. Funny that I remember when there was a big thing where the Israeli secret services they planted all of these explosive pages on people in Hezbollah, and they said that they destroyed Hezbollah by doing this. They said, do you remember that? Do you remember when they announced that they destroyed Hezbollah? Yeah. Now it's funny. Now I don't want to be patronizing here, but some humans have like things called relatives. Yeah, some of them have like children and shit. I know it's crazy. Stop me if you heard this one before. But yeah, and you know what? If your dad's been killed by the Israelis and you're an angry young teenager and he died fighting for his cause, are you going to A, go, oh, do you know what? The Israelis had the point. He was a bit of a knob. Or B, go, you bastards, I will avenge my father's death. I mean, it depends on your relationship with your father, I guess. But most people around the world who saw their dad get blown up by an exploding pager that was put on him by the Israeli Secret Service, who bragged about it afterwards. Yeah, I'd probably hate the Israelis too, with a white hot passion that made me go, hey, can I join this Hezbollah thing? I mean, you could argue that Benjamin Netanyahu has been the biggest recruiter for the not just anti-Semitism in general, but also for the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas and for the Islamic Revolutionary fucking Guard Corps. This is fucking it's nuts. And what's happening is a regional conflict once again is threatening to become a multi-front war. And, you know, the immediate trigger of this wasn't Israel. It wasn't Iran. It was Israel. They did a strike on Beirut again after last week taking a bloody Crusader castle in Lebanon. In the south of Lebanon. Now they struck targets in Beirut's southern suburbs. 2 apartment buildings were hit. There were 2 deaths. There were at least 20 injuries. Women and children were amongst those injured. Hezbollah acknowledged firing weapons into Israeli military positions, and Israel cited those launches as justification for strikes. So, you know, you have a group that is firing missiles at the military, and then the military respond by firing missiles at civilians. You see, that's a war crime. That's not how it's supposed to work. I mean, it shouldn't work at all. We shouldn't be having war. But if you are going to have war, there are rules to war. And if you break those rules, you are a war criminal, like Benjamin Netanyahu. Iran argues that Lebanon was covered by broader ceasefire arrangements. Iran warned repeatedly that attacks on Hezbollah strongholds would provoke a response, and Iran then followed through on this threat. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not on the side of Iran here, or Israel, or Lebanon, or Hezbollah, I guess, or Hamas, or the Houthis. I think everyone's behaving like fucking dickheads in this whole thing. But let's not forget, this was all triggered by Donald Trump. Because Benjamin Netanyahu said, oh, we're going to invade Iran. And he went, okay, then we'll join you. Who's with me? And everyone else went, no, that's a really, 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 really bad idea. And now you got Trump scrambling around. He told Axios that he would call Netanyahu and tell him not to retaliate. He stated, we don't need another one, when he talked about, you know, the flare up of war again. He described the talks with Iran as being close to a breakthrough, but that's the kind of shit that he says all the time. I mean, how do you know Trump is lying? Well, his disgusting prolapsed anus of a face, his mouth is fucking moving. But like he made comments to the Financial Times saying that he called the shots and that Netanyahu would have no choice but to accept a US-Iran deal. And what happened? Netanyahu ignored him, and Israeli strikes happened anyway. And for years, critics argued that Washington simply rubber-stamped whatever Israel wanted. Ironically, this morning, we are seeing something where Trump appears to have wanted de-escalation, Netanyahu wanted escalation, and now you got the tensions between Washington and Jerusalem at a time when Trump is feeling particularly put upon because he's a dickhead. He's a smelly, stupid, fascist, psychotic, sociopathic fucking moron. This guy is as thick as pig shit, but he's a psychotic. He's like a cross between Forrest Gump and American Psycho. It's exactly what he is. He goes around murdering, slaying, causing death and carnage and pain and suffering everywhere. He's a fucking sadist, right? But there's someone clearing up after him because he's part of the Epstein class. And they love to clean up. They have people like on their hands and knees cleaning up behind them, you know, going, oh no, you've made a mess on the floor. I'll clean that up for you, sir. 3 bags full, sir. You know, yes, sir, no, sir. Tug forelock, you know, doff cap. And the Netanyahu's got some major domestic problems coming up himself because, you know, Israeli elections are expected before October. And this is why he's doing it, because war is a very easy way. You know, attacking people, blowing shit up, murdering people is a great way to win votes. You know, what a sick world we live in. What a sick, twisted world we live in. Where if you want to get somewhere in the day in the world, getting somewhere in the day in the world today, it doesn't take everything you got. It just takes the sociopathic desire to see women and children be blown to bits. Yeah. Great, cool and normal. So I'm going to just put on the super chat goal. So don't super chat just yet. Just let me get this and then give it a minute, because you know it takes a minute to go through what your super chats won't register, which is no good. Has anyone seen One Angry Pagan? Is One Angry Pagan all right? I haven't seen One Angry Pagan for a few days. One Angry Pagan, if you're watching, hello. I hope you're all right, mate. If you've seen him on anyone else's channel, just make sure he's all right. Gallifreyan Rent, the irony of work coaches that push people to apply for jobs that don't exist, being pushed to apply for jobs that don't exist by a work coach that doesn't exist. AI in it. We've got Aqua Dave. Israel was mostly created as a regional attack dog to enforce America and the West's general desire for oil. The problem is that kind of dog can easily turn on its owner, says Acro Dave. Yeah, it's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons. I've washed my mouth out with soap, tastes horrible, and then realize I'm typing, not speaking. Yeah. Do you know what? Like, all things being equal, it's sad that um, the homeland for the Jews ended up being somewhere that not only is surrounded by people who hate them. You know, they could have said they were offered other places, you know, to maybe have a homeland. There's a part of Australia, I think, somewhere in America probably could have done quite well. You look at Salt Lake City and the Mormons, but no, they chose Israel, and it's not exactly a land of milk and honey. I'm sorry, I'm not saying that Israel shouldn't exist here, just to be very clear, right? I'm not saying, I don't believe that. It does exist, right? But as far as like, if you could choose anywhere for your people to settle down and live peacefully and happily, I wouldn't pick there. I just like, that was the last place I will go. You know, it seems to me that this is the place that the Moses and the refugees from Egypt, they spent 40 years in the Sinai desert walking around. I mean, it takes about 4 days to walk across that. I don't know why it took them 40 years to get across it from where the pyramids were built over to, you know, over to what's now Israel. I don't understand that, but okay, well, whatever. But I mean, if they kept on going north and maybe settled in Lebanon, I might understand it a bit more. Lebanon's beautiful. It's really green. It's, you know, it's got some nice places. But once you get on the other side of the mountains, it's just all rubble. It's just all badlands. Like, nothing grows. When you think of Israel, right? Do you think of like a land of milk and honey? Do you think of like rolling pastures on the hills and little walls? And no, it's all concrete for a start, because it was all built since 1947. It's all fucking horrible concrete, and like the actual terrain is just okay. This is the chosen land, okay, for the chosen people. Jesus Christ, this is what he's got down for the chosen people. I don't know what the fuck he's got down for the rest of us. Jesus, but like, it's not a nice place. It's just, I mean, just objectively, just look at that, zooming out and going, where's a nice place to live? And I'm just going, this place is like a semi-arid desert with a dead lake in the middle of it. No, not in the on the border between Israel and Jordan is the Dead Sea. It's literally called the Sea of Death, and nothing lives in it because it's too salty for anything to live in. Like, they're like big salt, you know, the big salt beasts in the ocean, salty water beasts like sharks. They can't fucking survive in the Dead Sea. It's just a big toxic sea that nothing is alive in. And you're like, where's the attraction here? Do you know, it's like, you know, when you think of like, I don't know, the rolling dunes of the Sahara, there is a certain level of enchantment there. There's a certain level of beauty, right? I get that. I wouldn't want to live there because it's freezing cold at night. It's boiling hot in the daytime, you know. But I still think it's you know, it's got some kind of majesty about it. It's kind of got some kind of ethereal quality. And I guess if you went along the Skeleton Coast in Namibia, you'll feel the same way. But a lot of the places I've been in the Middle East that are this scrabbly, rock-strewn, you know, desert land. So there's a few bushes that exist and they don't have any leaves on them. It's just, I don't know. Someone else might be able to say, no, Graham, you're wrong. Actually, there's lots of lovely things in Israel. There's lots of green if you know where to look. But I've only been to Jerusalem, so I can only say what I saw in Jerusalem. And yeah, getting there, getting away, I was just like, oh, it's a desert. But not like a funky desert, not like a cool Mad Max desert. This was just a scrabbly desert with, you know, I don't know, too hot, too uncomfortable, too many people around who didn't want us there or didn't want me there. I don't know. Or didn't want the state of Israel there. I just think, like, if only humans could be a little bit more practical rather than emotional. I don't know. Maybe your party wouldn't have gotten tits up. Their ancient Greek history and culture was so connected to Jerusalem, King Solomon and David, as well as the return to the land they were kicked out of. Yeah, I get that, Andrew Ray. But like, what I'm saying is, I understand the history behind it. But what I'm saying, just objectively, why there? You know, why set up in a place that's just, I don't know, not very pleasant? I'm sure there's some nice parks in Jerusalem and in Tel Aviv. I'm sure there's some nice trees and things. I don't doubt it. But whenever I'm playing GeoGuessr and I'm dropped in Israel, I just like, oh, it's Israel. I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty clear. Yeah. Greg NZ1, you can Google me. Ooh, okay. Yemen has announced it has joined Iran war and has actively attacked Israeli forces and banned all Israel shipping in the Red Sea. Is that Yemen or the Houthis, Chris? And Elle says, land of milk and honey. What does that mean? I mean, what are they calling milk and honey? And what are they calling milk and what are they calling honey? Sounds like a dodgy club. Oh, salty too. Yeah. I know. George, thank you. What are Refux plans for workers' rights? George, just to explain what workers' rights, they're going to get rid of all workers' rights. That's what Refux are going to do. They're going to get rid of the Equalities Act, which means that it will be perfectly legal for your employer to sack you for being black or white or lesbian or gay or straight or trans or deaf or blind or disabled in any way. Or maybe they don't like it, the fact that you took a day off because your one of your close relatives died. Maybe they don't like the fact that you wanted some holidays. They can sack you for even asking. They want to be able to sack workers for anything. They want to bring back fire and rehire so that they can do what they did on P&O the other year, where they just sacked everyone and rehired them with people from another country. Basically that's what they want. They want to go back to the 1800s, where you had mill owner and pit owner, and everyone had to fucking dance to their tune, and if you didn't, well, they sacked you and you starved to death. That's exactly what they want. That's the future that the refuckers want, and the dickheads who are voting for refuck are like, yay, this is great, ooh, yeah, take that, workers, because a lot of people who vote for refuck are not all boomers. Obviously, not all boomers. Just make me very clear when I say not all boomers, just 2/3 of them are voting for refuck. And why? Because they don't give a fuck about workers' rights, because they don't fucking work anymore, the lazy bastards. They're like, oh, I've worked enough, I've finished now. Done me work. That's it. Stop now. I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to making things miserable for the younger generations. Not all boomers, but enough. Just checked. It looks like the Houthis based in Yemen. Yeah. I don't think it'd be the government of Yemen who are doing that, but the Houthis definitely. Because they're on the Houthis, the Hamas, Hezbollah. They've all got close ties with Iran. I was just going to say about Trump. I mentioned Trump is just not doing so well at the moment. The World Cup's going to be a fucking disaster. I mean, I know we say this about a lot of World Cups. We said this about Qatar. We said this about Russia. We said, when has a World Cup not been? We said this about South Africa in 2010. They're not ready for it. It's going to be a disaster. But I mean, the more I learn about the World Cup in America. So, first of all, there was first of all, obviously tickets haven't been sold and stuff like that. But you know about the MetLife Stadium? This is a stadium that's in New Jersey. It's just over the river from New York. It's not far away. You could walk there in a normal country, but America's not a normal country. It's made for cars. Humans are second place to cars. When people buy a house, the most important thing is that their car is nice and snug and warm and comfortable in the garage. That's the first thing they look for. There's a double garage, even better, because then you have two cars, and you can put both cars in the double garage and they can snuggle up to each other at night. And obviously where the humans live is kind of secondary to that. It's like, we'll have to find somewhere for the humans to go. And you see this all over the place in America. They don't have pavements anymore. Anywhere in America, they don't have pavements because they call them sidewalks. But where they do have sidewalks, they're very few and far between, and sometimes just stop for no reason. They've got no cycle lanes. They've got no roundabouts, pretty much. So, the whole system is set up for cars to just sit in traffic jams all the time and just pump out loads of oil because they want to sell oil, burn as much oil as possible. And so what they're doing in the MetLife Stadium is mind-blowing. First of all, you're not allowed to walk to it, right? Which has been established. You're not allowed to walk to it. But here's something else. You're not allowed to drive to it either. Yeah. They've got this. If you ever look on the MetLife Stadium on Google Earth, you'll see that there's the stadium, which is like this little oval thing in the middle. And then around it, you've got this, like this looks like cars. You've got this vast swathe of concrete, this concrete land. which has got where all the cars go around it. It's got room for, I don't know, 30,000 cars or something fucking crazy, right? That car park is closed for the World Cup. There's either 6 or 8 matches, including the final, that is going to be held in the MetLife Stadium, and the car park is closed. The only way you can get there is by getting the bus, and the buses or the public transit, and they're bunking up the prices for the public transport tenfold, 10 times what it was, right? 10 times what it was. So it should have been $15. It's $150. And here's the kicker, right? Obviously, there are people with mobility issues who can't take the bus, can't take the train, right? So how do they get there, right? Well, they can park. They're opening up a few car parking spaces. Do you know how much it costs to park in those spaces? Over $300 to park your car. What should you do if you see a spaceman? Park your car, man. I used to love driving my car. I like driving in my car. Is it not quite a Jaguar? Not banned, but ineligible for a license. I'm not allowed to drive a car. I'm sorry about that, Daylight M. I had to give up my driving license on medical grounds. I'm sorry to hear that, Chris. I wish that it was the case that having to give up your car wasn't that big a deal, because the public transport was so good. So good. You didn't have to worry about it. Don't sweat it, baby. Anyway, employers will be able to sack workers for stepping on their shadow or looking at me kind of funny. Yes. Employers will be able to sack their workers for not fucking them. And that's the future that refuck wants. Tell your nan. Honestly, don't just take this in and go, okay. Tell your nan, tell someone, tell your neighbours. This is the future that refuck wants. Economists have delved into the economic plans for refuck and said this is going to cause exactly what happened with Liz Truss, unfunded tax cuts for the rich, and exactly what happened with Liz Truss. You'll see the bond markets go bananas, and you'll see pension funds get another £425 billion black hole blasted in them. Yeah. Does a Tinder really need a car? I don't know. Speaking of cars, I got hit by a car on Friday and broke my shoulder. Oh shit! Sorry, Acro Dave. It was a Tesla and didn't hear the bloody thing until it was on top of me. I'm sorry, mate. Do you know what? Cars ruin everything. I honestly, the older I get, the more grouchy I get about certain things, and cars really fuck me off, because they should be like a nice to have, like a addition to human and human habitation. You know, not something that is given priority over humans in every given situation. Now, the UK, to be fair, has pulled back on this in recent years. We've seen the 20-mile-an-hour zone instituted around Wales, which I completely agree with. Having 20 miles an hour zones around everywhere. One of the huge fucking bugbears for me living here in Durham is that we have these country roads that are about as wide as a Land Rover, and you've got no pavement, and you've got hedgerows either side, so it's not like you can jump into the hedgerows if a car comes. And it's 60 miles an hour. It's 60 miles an hour. It's 10 miles an hour off a fucking motorway going down these Postman Pat fucking roads. And if a car's coming the other way at 60 miles an hour, you're going at 60 miles an hour, you're going to stop in time. No fucking way. These country roads, little windy country roads with these bends that you can't see around, blind corners, blind crests. I just, it's 60 miles an hour. You know, there's a village near here where there's like a little stretch between the villages. Actually, a few villages like this. You'll have, the way Durham's set up, it's all around where the mines are, right? So there was a mine here, there's a mine down the road, there's all these different places. They're all collieries, right? And these are the buildings, these are the homes, these are the miners' cottages, I guess, that the miners used to live in, right? The miners obviously had decent public transport because they had a train line that went to all of the mines had a train line going to, because I just think they got How do you think they got the coal out? They got the train line. So there's loads of ripped up train lines around here, which are now cycle paths. But these village roads between the villages, right? So you go into a village and it's 30 miles an hour. It might be 20 miles an hour if the kids are getting picked up from school. And then you get out and it's like a 60-mile-an-hour stretch, but only for like, I don't know, half a mile. So everyone just revs up, goes around these corners really fast, like, hairpin turns and shit. And then they slow down again to go into the villages, but some of them don't slow down. They keep tearing through the villages at the speed that they were going. And it's just an accident waiting to happen. And I'm like, why is it 60 miles? What is the point of it being 60 miles an hour for fucking like half a mile? Like, what is that? Just leave it. Just leave it at 30. You can't, if you travel faster than 30 miles an hour, it is dangerous and there's a chance you will lose your control, hit a car coming the other way, or even worse, going off into, the side of the road and hitting a pedestrian. And the idea that people are going to cycle around here, are you fucking crazy? Like, cycling, first of all, it's really hilly, so cycling is quite difficult. But secondly, like, people drive like twats. And the people who drive like twats are always driving big twatty cars, You hardly ever see, like, I don't know, it probably does happen, but you ever see someone driving a Nissan Micra or a Fiat 500 like a twat, do you? Do you know what I mean? Refuck are going to deport anyone who puts a frog face image on Nigel's face. Oh dear. Yes, I think Andrew, you're correct there. Chris has got some breaking news. We've got Tate and Lyle have agreed to be bought by US rival Ingredion in a £2.7 billion deal, sending its shares up 12% this morning. Yet another British company in the hands of the Americans. Yeah, well, Tate and Lyle can go fuck itself forever because they're the ones who supported Brexit and the Tories. And they supported Brexit because they wanted to bankrupt the beet farmers, the sugar beet farmers in this country, because they wanted the sugar cane plantations, the old plantations that they still own over there in the Caribbean. They wanted them to make all the sugar for us. Please do not buy Tate and Lyle sugar. Okay, just don't. You don't need it. I see twats drive courses like idiots. Okay then, maybe courses. Of course you do. This could be interesting. UK readies sanctions against Israel to deter proposed illegal West Bank settlements. Good. I'm glad we're doing that. Mom has mobility scooter and she is a menace, says Daylight M. Got a motor scooter, folks. They're awesome. Or get a motor scooter. It's winter in New Zealand. Hot pool resorts is a Tindering topic. Tindering? Why are we talking about Tinder? Mobility scooters should require a license and insurance to use, in my humble opinion. Yeah. People getting injured on roads. I also feel like that should be the case for cyclists on the highway. I think you need to have a license to ride a bike on a highway. Why? Well, look, back in the day, because I'm old, all the cars were gears. Well, we weren't all, but unless you were rich and you can afford a Jaguar with an automatic gearbox, most of the cars that you would drive growing up were geared, right? And they're pretty tricky, they're tricky little bastards. You got to get the biting point right, and each car's got a different biting point, and you got to work out how to fucking operate the clutch and not press the clutch and the accelerator down at the same time, and blah 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 blah. Right? Okay, so cool. But more recently, cars are now electric, and it's like you literally press a button, and the car starts, and then you press down on the accelerator, and you go. It's like driving a golf cart. There's no technique to it. There's no challenge. There's no like working out which gear you're supposed to be in based on the increments of the fucking hill you're going up or not. Right? It's just you just press the accelerator down, you go, and you press the brake, you stop. It's brilliant, right? And so the technical side of driving, I think, is less important now. I think what's more important is the actual driving side. Sorry, that's a bad way of putting it. The actual reading the road. Is that a good way of putting it? Theory, essentially. Knowing what the signs mean, knowing how a roundabout works, knowing who has priority, knowing blah, 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 right? All that kind of stuff, right? Way more important. And so I don't want to have a test for, for a license for people who want to bike on the roads Being do you know how to ride a bicycle? No, you don't need that. In the same way that you need less and less advice on how to drive a car now. It's a lot easier than it ever has been in the past. But I do really believe that the theory side of things, yeah, I think that cyclists should have to take a theory test so they know what the fucking signs mean. One of the things that pisses me off is when motorists, and this all the time, they shout at pedestrians like, you shouldn't go down that, because there's like a road sign that said that pedestrians shouldn't be in this area or something, right? And I'm just like, they haven't taken a road test. They haven't learned to drive. Why would they know what the sign meant? The sign's not for them. It's for motorists. But it's a weird thing that we do. Like, for instance, if we want to say that something is not, and it's sometimes counterintuitive, right? So you have something in a red circle on the road, on a road sign, it means it's prohibited. So if you have a silhouette of a walking man in a red circle, right? Pedestrians are prohibited. Why would a fucking pedestrian know that? What is it about that sign that makes it really obvious? If it had a slash going through the middle of it, then yeah, sure, yeah, that's definitely not, humans not allowed. This is just cars only, innit? Like that movie from Pixar, Cars. But why do you expect a pedestrian to know what that means? But in the same extent, why do you expect a cyclist to know what the road signs mean if they've never taken a driving test, if they've never taken the theory? And it would make things safer for cyclists and for everyone else using the road if there was a theory test for cyclists and you got that and then you got a license, you could cycle on the roads. That's what I reckon. Anyway. One of the biggest issue with electric cars is a lot of people don't have 15k to get an entry-level vehicle. I know, yeah, but it's going to come down. It's going to come down. Graham, thank you for saying my name, says Greg NZ. Just watched the movie From Hell to Texas. I've not even heard of that. From Hell to Texas. I mean, that's basically the same thing as far as I'm concerned. I agree with you, Graham. Cyclists should be made to hold insurance if they're going to use the highway. I don't know if I'll go so far as to say you have to get insurance. I don't, because let's be realistic here. Cyclists aren't going to cause that much damage to a car that they hit. I think the car's going to cause a lot more damage to the cyclist. But I do think that a level of competence needs to be met in order to just be able to go on the roads, to know what the signs mean, to know that you're supposed to stop at a red light and you're supposed to get off your bike and then walk around the corner. That whenever people do that, it reminds me of that Mr. Bean skit where he saw someone getting off the bike and walking it around the corner at a red light, and so he gets out of his Mini and he walks it, standing outside and pushes it, maneuvers the steering wheel to go around the corner on a red light. But I don't think they should have to pay insurance necessarily. But I do think that we need to drum into motorists, cyclists, and even pedestrians the golden pyramid of pedestrian of road rights. And trucks and buses are right at the bottom. They should give way to everybody. Everything else on the road they should give way to. And then you've got vans, which should give way to everything but cars, and then cars. Apart from bigger trucks, I guess. And then you've got cars, which should always give way to cyclists and to pedestrians. And then you've got, cyclists, they should give way to pedestrians. I hate it when I'm in London and I walk across a cycle lane and some twat comes past, like ringing his bell. Whoa, get out the cycle lane, you mate! And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly the same as when you're walking across a road or a side street and a car wants to turn left into the side streets and it starts beeping the horn because you're supposed to be on the road. It's like, no, fuck off. I have priority. If I want to stand in the middle of the cycle lane, you fucking stop. End of. I don't even have this discussion because you can do more damage to me with that bicycle going at 15 miles an hour than I can do to you standing here. All right? Just we've got to have that hierarchy put in place, and people need to understand it. Another thing that cyclists aren't making friends by doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I should be all like, yeah, cycling is great, and it is. I like cycling myself, but I really do believe that they should have a better road etiquette than they do. I mean, it's fine around here, but like when I go to London, I always get like people, and they ring the bells, and I'm like, if Catherine's with me, she can't hear the bell. She's deaf. What are you trying to do? Get out the fucking way! Ah, I'm gonna get through. Where have you got to get to? You're on a bike. It'd be that important. Or you'll be in an ambulance. Graham, I was the thing. Public liability insurance, as it causes horrific injuries if they hit a pedestrian, especially at speed. Yeah. A great aunt mine was killed by a cyclist just leaving a house on the pavement. Bloody hell, Mr. Sis. Sorry to hear that. Lee says, as a cyclist infuriates me too. They give us cyclists who obey the highway code a bad name. Yeah, they do. They really do. And the problem is, you end up with, because cyclists are a minority in this country, you end up with people joining the oil companies and the car companies that don't want anyone to cycle anywhere. They join them and say, yeah, we shouldn't. Well, I think we should have cycle lanes, but let's be sensible about them. If someone's standing in the cycle lane because they're waiting to cross the fucking road, then, you slow down, you stop, you go around them, whatever. Sorry, it's a bit of an arse to start off again, but pedestrians should always have the right of way. And then, there's someone I'll put above pedestrians, which are, disabled people, elderly people, pregnant women who get priority above, you when you're on public transport or you're walking somewhere. Everyone punches down. Drivers curse cyclists and cyclists curse pedestrians. Yeah. But it's a bit rich of cyclists to do that, considering how arsey they get about cars, breaking the highway code, which is fair enough because it's a matter of life and death. But yeah, do you want to interview Jacinda? Yeah, I'd love that, Greg. That'd be really cool if I could do that. She's living in Australia now, isn't she? Or is she back in New Zealand? Yeah, get in touch with me. Road signs are tonight as part of Bikeability, the new version of cycle proficiency. Bikeability, is that what it's called? Yeah, Graham. I think there should be a license. I'm funny about licenses, right? Because I think that people do stuff and some people shouldn't be allowed to do it because they're shit at it or they're awful at it. Like, I think there should be dog licenses. I believe this. And I know loads of people who are like mad dog owners who like actually agree with me on this one because there are terrible dog owners out there and they shouldn't be allowed to own dogs because dogs are tremendously loyal. It doesn't matter how badly you treat them; they always come back to you, bounding away, all dead happy, and they're quite stoic creatures. And we used to have licenses for that. We have a license for TV, for fuck's sake. Why not have a license to own a dog? I mean, cats slightly different. I know people can abuse cats, but at the end of the day, if you're not nice to your cat, fuck off and live somewhere else. Whereas the dog won't. The dog will stay with you. That's why there's a lot of psychopaths who fucking love dogs because they can be as horrible as they like to their dogs, and the dogs will always bound back to them. So who do horse riders punch down on? Yeah, Chris, that's a good point. The horse riders on the road. We get a lot of horse riders around here, and I always slow the fuck down, 5 miles an hour past them, give them as much space as humanly possible. Whereas you get these dickheads in their souped up fucking Vorsprung technique cars, and they go dead close to the horses, like revving the, try and make the horse bolt or throw the rider off, and you're just like, really, this is fun. This is fun. Like putting someone's life in danger. That's fun for you. But then there's some shite drivers out there who just want to, they think that being a good driver is driving at the maximum speed all the time, or usually a bit faster than the maximum speed, and then slamming on the brakes at the last moment so everyone in the car flies forward. Said it before and I say it again. If you want a mark of a good driver, it's not that you don't hit things even though you drive really fast. It's the comfort of your passengers. If your passengers are like, this is cool, this is awesome, yeah, you're a good driver. If your passengers, right, are gripping onto the fucking handle of the car, right, or the door handle, like, fuck, and they've got the hand on the fucking top of the car like this, and they're getting thrown forward, and they're going to be, you can keep driving like a twat if you want, but at some point someone will vomit all over your upholstery of your car. It's just the way it is. To be honest, animal cruelty in this law should be massively increased because they currently are pathetic. Well, Miss DLR, yes, I agree. And also, I discovered yesterday, I was watching YouTube, a TikToker, who was talking about the fact that it's a bit better now, but it's still the case that over 50% of child sexual predators, right, are cleared to work with children again once their sentence is finished. Because you naturally think, right, seriously, if you get done for that, then that's it. You just don't work with children anymore. Not so. And look, I'm all for giving people a second chance if they've robbed something from a shop or, they've stolen someone's handbag or something. Yeah, fine. But allowing that person to then, I don't know, have a shop to themselves or, have a handbag fucking manufacturing company. I don't know what analogy I'm trying to make here, but like convicted nonces working with children, that should be an oxymoron, shouldn't it? That just shouldn't happen. But there's so many laws in this country that are so fucking ridiculously lax, and you don't find out about it until you go, hang on, what? The rich aren't paying VAT on school fees. The rich aren't paying VAT on their private jet fuel. Can I mention to you that I know you on YouTube? Yeah, sure, Greg. Yeah. He's responsible for anti-cycling protests and lobbies all over the world, resulting in thousands of cycling-friendly projects being blocked. Who's this? There was a cyclist in the 60s who was obsessed that cyclists should ride and be treated like cars despite them being slower and smaller and more vulnerable. He raged against the cycle lanes. He wrote books about it and arranged protests against them. The car and the oil lobby jumped on the bandwagon and funded him using his flawed research as proof that cycling infrastructure was bad for bikes. Of course they did. Of course they did. All the shit that we have to put up with in life, all the things we grumble about it's caused by the oil companies, nearly all of it. Graham, I was about to pull you up on a statement. Anyone convicted of sexual offence is automatically banned from working with children and vulnerable adults for life. Apparently not. There was a case where a woman, her father went down for sexually abusing her, and it said that he might, that was the word they used, he might not be able to work with children for the rest of his life. Might. Not he will, but might. And there's thousands and thousands of people who have got a conviction for sexual abuse of children who are allowed now to work with children. So yeah, George only, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. A speed limit is a maximum speed limit, isn't it? Not a speed stipulation, as you must do the specific speed exactly. Yes, George only. But people think that that it's a target. That's the speed you have to go at. And if anyone's going a bit slower than that, oh fucking hell, I'm gonna go right up his arse and beat me horn, flash me lights, and overtake him on a blind corner, especially if they're driving an Audi. Fox hunting laws should actually be enforced. I hate it when there's privileged gits just ignore it. Yeah. They do this thing where they bait the trail, don't they? So they don't know where the dogs are going. But then when the dogs find a fox, they go, oh, well, collateral damage. And if someone who is convicted of a sexual offence even applies to a position that involves working with children or vulnerable adults, is committing a separate offence. Acro says, nonsense being allowed to work with children shouldn't surprise anyone when they also voted into positions of sometimes supreme executive authority. Yeah. But yeah, Chris, have a look at that. Have a look at if it's across the board, because I don't think that it is. But yeah, and I know they tightened up the laws a bit in about 12 years ago, but I mean, even now, it's not absolute that if you get done for a sex crime against a child, that you will actually be banned from working with children for life. I regret not learning to surf like Elvis at Regland Beach. That's a Ubery clip. Thanks, Greg. I haven't surfed yet. I will. Maybe for my 50th, I'll go surfing. Anyway, yeah, but we'll talk about Trump's domestic problems, weren't we? Sorry, before I got horrifically sidetracked about cyclists and dog owners and all kinds of shit. But yeah, the Trump, no one wants to go to his birthday party. He thinks that it's the 250th anniversary. He thinks it's his birthday. He thinks he's 250 years old. He's having a UFC fight on the lawn of the White House, and everyone involved is like, this is going to be shit. And they're actually having, I think, to conscript soldiers to be part of the crowd because no one wants to go and see it. And then you've got the World Cup, which is being an absolute fucking disaster at the moment. Oh, that's why I was talking about the MetLife. You're not even allowed to fucking park your car. Yeah. usually the host cities put on a public transport for free, but not in America. Not in America. Graham, it's automatic. The judge do not have a say on the matter. I can double check my source materials, but I'm sure it applies across the board. Okay, well, look, the video I saw, they said that this person who had been done for horrific sexual crimes, who was currently in jail, part of the is it the judge's statement or whatever, when they were being sentenced, said that they might not be able to work with children for the rest of their lives, and they were picking up on the word mice. And also, you know, the what was the other thing that this was quite shocking that we sort of found out together a while ago, with, you know, with the sentencing of people who get done for like car crimes. You know, if you want to murder someone, get in your car and do it. I mean, even if you are convicted, you'll do a much lighter sentence. But, you know, the guy who drove into the crowd in Liverpool, he's been sentenced to 12 years or whatever it is minimum. But then his license has only been taken off him for like 14 years, right? So he'll be out of jail a couple of years and he'll be able to drive again. I think that's an absolute fucking nonsense. If you've done something as horrific as that, driven into a crowd during the Liverpool celebrations of winning the league last year, that's it, mate. That is it. You never drive again. That is it. You are not allowed to drive again. But the oil companies and the car companies and the Firestone tires and stuff, they don't want that. And so they have made sure that there's a little get out, little bit of wiggle room. If you murder someone with your car, or you injure people with your car, then on purpose, then you know you can be stopped from driving for a bit because you're in jail. But then once you're out of jail, well, you should be able to drive again. You know, they might have calmed down by then. Patrick, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Julian Jessup, Radio 4 today, defending Brexit. BBC is still obsessed with balance. Rejoin will face the same enemies as last time. Red carpet beckons. Yeah, Patrick, you're right. Thanks for the super chat. And yes, the BBC, you know, the false equivalency of the BBC is quite horrific. USA, where they know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Known to people who love, known to people who talk money so much. Yeah, they're obsessed with money. They're absolutely obsessed with money. Yeah. Anyway, so Trump is not doing so well at home. It looks like there might be a trouncing in the midterm elections. I'm not holding my breath for that because I know they're going to cheat like motherfuckers. And even if they do get you know, even if the Democrats do sweep the board and take back the House and take back the Senate, Trump is very likely to launch a murderous crowd onto Congress, on the Capitol building, and murder every man, woman, and child in that building. You know, they don't want. So yeah, I'm not going, yay, the midterms are going to get fucked. I don't know if that'll happen. I hope it does, but and then you got Netanyahu, who's facing elections in October. So Trump's got elections, I think the midterms are the first week in November, the first Thursday in November, I think. Memory serves me correctly. And Israeli elections are expected before October. And Netanyahu's facing growing criticisms over the Gaza war, the Lebanon conflict, the economy, the failure to achieve decisive victories. And critics have long argued that Netanyahu benefits politically from a permanent security crisis, which he does because he's a right-wing twat. The national emergencies have often shifted away attention from the corruption allegations, the government failures, domestically, the coalition instability, and a frightened electorate is often more willing to rally behind incumbent leaders. And the question is, does this escalation make Israel safer, or does it make Netanyahu politically safer? What do you think? And it was interesting as well to see mass rallies yesterday in Tehran of people supporting the government. This is a country that 6 months ago, there were people on the street protesting against the government, right? Now there's masses of people on the street protesting for the government. Trump did that. Netanyahu did that. Acro Dave says, murdering someone by means of a motor car being treated as a less serious offence by any other method is henceforth known as Clarkson's Law. Yeah. I mean, if you wake up one morning and you decide that you just want to kill and kill again, do it with your car. You know, as long as it's not, there's no motive, as in, you know, it's not someone that you know, and someone that you're actively targeting. If you just want to make humans die because you're a psycho, you're a sicko, you're fucked in the head, then, you know, use your car. because our stupid fucking laws in this country go, well, did they mean to go out and murder someone with that huge lump of metal that weighs 2 tons that they were driving at 70 miles an hour? Did they? Did they know the damage that it would have done to that pedestrian they ploughed into at the bus stop? Did they? Oh, well, there's a bit of leeway here, There's a bit of grey area. Whereas if they'd gone out with a knife and stabbed a bunch of people, then yeah, that's cutting short. They went out to kill people. Yeah, mistake was using the knife, mate. Anyway, so the cost of this current reignition of the war in the Middle East is already being felt. Brent crude has jumped towards $100 a barrel. This morning it was $97 when I last checked. US crude has climbed above $94 a barrel. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the world's most important energy choke points. Roughly a fifth of globally traded oil passes through the region. Petrol prices in the UK are already rising. RAC figures show that average unleaded petrol is now £1.58 a litre. And if escalation continues, then we're going to see the continuation of fuel rise costs and transport costs and food costs, inflation rising, and ordinary people in Liverpool, Manchester, Durham, Leeds that we have to pay. We have no influence at all over Middle Eastern politics, and we end up footing the fucking bill for this nonsense. I am very, 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 very grateful though for the many wind turbines that we have and the solar panels that we have. Because otherwise, the price shock would be immense. We wouldn't be paying £1.58 for a litre of unleaded. You'd be paying £3 by now. We were insulated from the shock of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz and the prices going up for oil everywhere. We were insulated from that because of renewables. And I tell you, when next year there's 3 wind turbine fields in the Dogger Bank that are all coming online. One of them's coming online later this year. The other 2 should be next year. They're a bit behind schedule, but they should be going online. And they'll be providing 5% of all of the power for Britain. All of our power, 5% from 3 fields. That's how powerful these wind turbines are. The insane amount of electricity they're going to produce. And that's going to hopefully help bring our bills down in the next couple of years, like down to just when it's, it's what it should be, which is about £100 a year. I mean, it won't go down that far because of greed, but that's how much it should be to power your homes off renewables, because they're so cheap. They're so cheap and so effective. It's ridiculous. There's a 4th field in Dogger Bank, which is looking like it's going to start. Well, they're going to start building on it once they finish on the other 3. But yeah, they're getting there, and as soon as that comes online, we're going to have a massive, massive boost to our ability to create power without gas, without importing toxic, murderous fuel from other parts of the world. You get a gas leak in your house, carbon monoxide poisoning, you fucking die. You fucking die. That is it. End of. You fucking die. Electricity, as it goes into our homes, is remarkably safe. I know it's not incredibly safe. Don't put your fingers in the light socket, kids. But yeah, the British safety plug is fucking fantastic. It's got its own fuse. I mean, people dying from electrical fires, it can happen, but it's very few and far between. That's why when it does happen, it's usually front page news of a newspaper. Like, oh my God, there was an electrical fire and there was a big fire in a terraced house. Nowhere near as catastrophic in terms of, just if you look at gas explosions, which are just fucking insane, where you'll see a row of terrace houses and one's missing. It's like, how did that happen? Gas, fossil fuel. UK energy mix live. Let's see how we're doing. National Grid live. So we're currently running on 25% fossil fuels. We're only on 38.1% renewables at the moment, with 14.6% of other sources, mostly nuclear, but some of that's biomass as well, which is not great for the environment. So, it's put down as other sources. I would put that as part of fossil fuels, essentially, but it's not fossil fuels technically, is it? But yeah, we've got the interconnectors going, and sometimes you look at it and you go, hang on, those sums don't add up. That doesn't add up to 100, and that's because we are actually exporting some lecky But yeah, it's a great little website. Grid.iamkate.com. Don't know why it's called I Am Kate, but there you go. I am legend. And yeah, you can see how much gas and solar and wind and hydroelectric that we're getting. At the moment, we're getting more wind power. We're getting 27% wind power and 25% gas. So a big boost to the wind turbine output. You know, it's going to be a lot. Fuck all from hydroelectric, by the way. Only 1% from hydroelectric, and that's because we don't have that much in the way of like very fast moving rivers in this country. Oh, this is such an old part of the world that the Pennines used to be the height of the Himalayas. You know, it used to be 9-10 kilometers up in the sky, but now obviously they've been eroded over millions and millions and millions of years. But this is a very, very old bit of the world, and old bit of the world. And as a result of that, a lot of the rivers that we have don't really, you know, aren't big and fast like they are in some of the younger places on the planet where you can use a lot more hydroelectric power. But yes, wind turbines, aka windmills, covered that by why Trump is banning the Scots from FIFA. Yeah, he doesn't like them. Breaking news, says Chris. Starmer says government will legislate if tech companies don't stop children using phones to take naked images. Yeah, and honestly, I do think there needs to be a big conversation to be had about these companies and what they allow children to do with their phones. And I'll go back to the argument that I keep making time and time again to say we really should be making separate phones for kids. That's it. You get your Fisher-Price phone, and it just doesn't do the things that an adult phone does. On your 16th birthday or your 18th birthday, you get your adult phone, and that's the way it works. In the same way we don't let children drive or drink or do other harmful things that are going to fuck them up for the rest of their lives. You know? Anyway, so there's also the human cost in all this, what's going on in the Middle East. You know, in Lebanon, more civilians have been killed, more injured, more infrastructure damage. In Israel, millions once again are rushing to shelters and thanking Netanyahu for waking them up in the middle of the night and forcing them to go down to the shelters, I'm sure. Families living under missile warnings. In Iran, cities are hearing explosions again, and businesses, airports, civilians, you know, having to deal with this new outbreak of violence. And the tragedy here is that, you know, Netanyahu will claim self-defense, claim deterrence, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is ordinary people are the ones who suffer every time. Obviously, the ceasefire was already fragile. Violations never truly stopped. Israel continued operations in Lebanon. Iran repeatedly threatened retaliation, and Hezbollah continued sporadic attacks, and US-Iran negotiations repeatedly stalled. You know, the warning signs are right there from the start. The ceasefire wasn't, you know, resolving any of these underlying disputes. It was about freezing the conflict temporarily while America tried to sort some deal out with Iran for opening the Strait of Hormuz. But the thing is with Donald Trump is he's terrible at making deals. He's absolutely fantastic at conning people. I mean, he is world-class con man. I mean, there is no more S-tier con man on this planet than Donald Trump. Like, he is the epitome of a con man, of a con artist, and he's so good at it. He's up there with like the Reverend Jim Jones, right? He could get his flock to drink the poison Kool-Aid. I think if Trump said to his people, to his MAGA lot, I don't want you to drink this poison Kool-Aid, I think at least 1 million of them would in America. Because honestly, if you've never spoken to a MAGA American one-to-one, you might not get just how fucking brainwashed they are. Like, honestly, it's quite scary. It's genuinely terrifying to talk to these people. It's like something from Village of the Damned, or you know, like you know, in a movie when it turns out that someone was a robot all along, and then they sort of go into robot mode, and the you know, dead eyes and just kind of like murder. They're a bit like that. Do you know what I mean? That they've become automatons automatons. They can become robots under Trump's spell, and that's really fucking disturbing. And there's a certain amount of religiosity about that, this idea that they have faith in Donald Trump and anything that he does. But and whenever you add religion into the mix of people being angry or upset about something, then you're generally gonna have people not perhaps making the most rational of decisions. Because it's their religion, it's their belief, and their belief becomes part of them, and their belief is intrinsically tied to who they are and how they regard themselves. And telling people that they've got the wrong religion is like telling people that they're wrong to vote for Trump or telling them they were wrong to vote for Brexit. People get very, very emotional about it. Like you've just said that their baby is ugly or that tattoo looks shit. The other things that you can't say in human life because you get into trouble. MAGA is a cult, a goddamn cult. It is indeed. Graham, I blame the moonshine. Silver Mines in Tipperary is planning a huge Archimedes screw-type hydroelectric station. That sounds fascinating. Have you seen Kaylin Roberts' video about the Russian-owned aluminium refinery in Limerick supplying ships to Russia every 2 days, effectively supporting Putin's war effort? No, but that's not great. The one thing kids shouldn't be allowed to do till they're 18 is to be born to parents who send them to private school. Yeah, well, I'd just ban all the private schools. That's it. That's just it. Just get rid of them all. Get rid of them all. They are awful. They're absolutely awful. Ban them. Ban homeschooling completely. No more homeschooling. No more private schools. Fuck off. Send your kid to a fucking school, right? Because what private schools are and what homeschooling is, as far as I'm concerned, it's just, I know not all people who do it and go to these schools get fucked up, but if you are a predator and you want to abuse children, your two best ways to do it are homeschooling or getting a job at a private school, which, don't forget, you don't need to be qualified as a teacher to get a job in a private school. Don't forget that. You don't need a PGCE. Calderdale Council have banned pride flags at Shibden Hall, the home of Anne Lister, a big visitor attraction for LGBTQ plus people. That's fucking disgusting. MAGA turf, same thing. Yeah, Mystique, the turfs are the same. It's become a religion to them. And then you've got somewhere like Jerusalem, which is ground zero for religion. You've had different religious groups fighting over who's in control of Jerusalem for thousands of years. Literally thousands of years, this one. And like I said, I've been to Jerusalem and it's all right, I guess. I mean, what do you want me to say? Do I prefer the souk in the market in Tunisia? Yeah, I do. Do I think the going to Egypt and going to Cairo and visiting the Giza Plateau is that more of a magical feeling for me? Yeah. I feel more connected with the history of the world in Egypt than I do in Jerusalem. I went to the Wailing Wall. Okay, it's a wall. I've seen walls all over the Middle East. I've been all over Italy. I've been all over Greece. I've seen Roman remains. If I want a wall, I can go to the Hadrian's Wall. It's not far from here. And just walk along it. It's a wall that was built a long time ago. Go to Cusco in Peru. They've got lovely walls there. Sexy woman nearby. These fantastic walls, amazing walls, great walls, wonderful walls. But I mean, okay, great. I don't know, people, like, to them, this is the most important thing in the world because they've been told it's the most important thing in the world all their fucking life. But for the rest of us, looking from the outside, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. If you ask me now, seriously, Graham, you always bang on about Liverpool. You say it's the greatest city in the world. Well, not the greatest. I'll say the best, right? Because greatness is a weird metric, but like the best city in the world. Why would I say? And I can give you reasons. It is green and leafy. Going down to Sefton Park, Princes Park, It's just absolutely beautiful. Walking along the River Mersey, the sun's setting. It's beautiful. I mean, it's the it invokes the spirit of adventure in me. It's got some amazing civic buildings, beautiful, beautiful buildings that are still functional, still being used today. You can go and stay in them. A lot of them are hotels now, boutique hotels, but you can go and stay in these places. There's so much to see and so much to explore. And then there's the music. Like everywhere you go in Liverpool, there's music all the fucking time. It's ridiculous. I mean, like everywhere. Like you go into a pub and there'll be a band playing. There'll be someone singing karaoke, or there'll be someone playing the guitar. And this goes on till 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm never bored in Liverpool. I don't remember being bored in Liverpool. I'm not a person who gets bored very easily, but there's always something to do. But like I just don't. And I can explain to you, I can say, and I can take you out there. I can say, look at this. This is awesome. You drive down the end of Queen's Drive, and you've got these massive old trees. And then you go to either side of this avenue, and it's just beautiful, and it's calm, and it's peaceful. And then you can get anywhere in the city in 20 minutes, which I love because, I lived in London for a bit, and trying to drive around in London. Oh, my God, on the North Circular. My girlfriend at the time, her parents lived near Heathrow Airport, and we lived over in the east of London. We lived near Grange fucking Hill, and like just trying to get from one side of the city to the other took hours, literally hours. And I've got this city that's just, there's always something going on. There's always some arts thing. There's always some project. There's always something new. Every time I go into the city centre, there's something new there. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I can explain to you, like if I ask someone, and I've done this, in Israel, like in Jerusalem, what is it about this place that's so magical? And they'll talk about their heritage. They'll talk about the fact that their parents were born here, or something. It's all about this feeling of a place that is magical because they've been told it's magical. But for me, it's like turning up at a theme park that's been closed for 30 years. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I suppose it's interesting, but there's nothing to do. The security concerns, and people don't necessarily get along. I'm just saying, if the objective of Israel, the concept of Israel, was to find somewhere for Jews to feel safe in a world that generally doesn't like Jews, it's a failure. It's an absolutely massive, monumental failure. It's a bigger failure as anything. I'm not saying it's a failed state. I'm saying that as a concept for somewhere where this group of people who were exiled from their own country by the Romans 2,000 years ago, and they wandered the world, and people were horrible to them everywhere they went, and eventually it culminated in the Holocaust. And at that point, the rest of the world said, maybe it might be a better idea if there was somewhere that Jewish people could call a home, and where they'd be safe, where there's no chance of a fascist dictator getting in and saying, right, first of all, we're going to go after all the Jews. Because that's what they used to do. Before they moved on to trans people, and before they moved on to immigrants and single mothers, they went for the Jews. Every fucking time. Jews were expelled from England in the 1300s. They were expelled from Spain in 1492 under Isabella and King Ferdinand. And like the pogroms in Russia, leading up to what happened in the Second World War, and yeah, great, okay, I understand. I'm not saying it's a failed state. I'm saying that the concept of it was to give Jewish people somewhere safe to live, and on that metric, it's been an absolute abject failure. Because if you're telling me that Jewish people living in Israel run into the bloody bomb shelters last night because the rockets being launched at them, they feel safer, than they would in another country where they're not having rockets fired at them. I'm sorry, I just, yeah. And to be very clear, I'm not saying Israel shouldn't exist. I'm saying that as a project for keeping Jewish people safe, I think it's spectacularly failed, because of gobshites like Netanyahu. Don't forget, it was one of Netanyahu's followers who shot dead Yitzhak Rabin, who died in 1995, who was trying more than any other Israeli leader up to that point to form a peace agreement with the PLO, with Yasser Arafat. If that had gone through, history would be very, very different now. They didn't want it to go through. Um, Chris says Trump walks out of NBC. Yeah, that's not breaking news. That happened yesterday, Chris. I did mention that at the start of the show. He stormed off after 5 minutes. It was Meet the Press. Sorry, I said it was 60 minutes. Meet the Press. Best start making tracks with some errands to run. See you all at the writing stream. Okay, cool. Gallifrey and Ren, that'll be at 1 o'clock today, so take care. Some interesting news for the idiots who were arrested following the Southampton Farage riots turned out to be VFUC councillors. Calderstones is the best park, Graham. Ooh. Well, there's Caldy's, there's Croxted Park, which is nearer me, where I grew up in West Derby. St Mary the Virgin, where I used to be a choir boy, that's on the entrance. It's on one of the entrances to Croxted Park, which is massive. You always forget how big Croxted Park is. It's just fucking huge. But there's so many green spaces in Liverpool. Even up in the north of Liverpool, you got, is it South Park? Up in Bootle, which is really nice. You got what's the big one? Newsham Park. Newsham Park was really nice. And just like, the city of Liverpool did really well as far as the out of it all. And I think it's important to recognise the fact that it did really well out of slavery in the 1700s. But as long as we acknowledge that, we do have an International Slavery Museum in Liverpool, which is well worth a visit. As long as we acknowledge that and we don't shy away from that fact, I think that's a facet of Liverpool that I think other places could do well with adopting, of just going, yeah, that was an awful thing that happened. Here's a museum. You can go and find out about it if you like. And they have school trips to the Slavery Museum so kids can understand just the actual depravity of the slavery years, hundreds and hundreds of years spent by the British and other countries, but British in particular, going over to Africa, stealing people and shipping them across the water. Half of them died going across the water, and women were raped and children were murdered, and at least on one occasion that we know of, it happened quite a few times, I think, on the Amistad, and there was a ship that was registered in Liverpool where they did this, where they chucked slaves overboard, chucked them overboard as an insurance scam. Yeah. Which part of your Liverpool do your mum and dad live now? Look, West Derby. Born and bred. Like my dad bought the house in like 1963, I think, for tuppence halfpenny and a copy of last week's Echo. And West Derby is. It's a bit of a funny place, West Derby, because it feels a little bit like it's in the east of the city, and it really does feel like the borderlands between the more affluent south of the city and the more sort of working class north of the city. And it's quite an interesting place because it used to have Melwood's training ground, Liverpool's training ground, and also Everton's training ground just off Sandfield Park. And as a result of that, you get some like really rich people living in West Derby. Carla Lane, the writer of Bread, used to live in West Derby, and Brookside was set in West Derby as well. I used to make a joke when I was younger about how everyone in Liverpool, if they lived in a nice house, they were either a footballer or a drug dealer. If they drove a car, they drove an expensive Mercedes with blacked out windows, they were definitely either a drug dealer or a professional footballer. But yeah, it is a lovely part of the city. I do really like the old Rala down, the old Loop Line railway is just a lovely part, the quiet part of the city. You can walk along. It's pretty safe. I mean, I used to go down there as a kid. I never got into any trouble. But then I was a ginger specky Four Eyes, so you can see why no one wants to pick on me. But yeah, it's a lovely part of the city. But I think if I was going to have a little place of my own in Liverpool, I would certainly probably look somewhere near Sefton Park. I love the idea of just getting up in the morning and going to Loch Lane and just having going to a cafe, having a coffee and stuff, and catching up with my mates. I really miss that kind of thing. Living here in Durham, I can't walk. I've got on this all the time, but I can't walk to a cafe. I've got to get in the car and go for a coffee. And it's because this is the left behind. I live in the left behind that they keep talking about, and it genuinely feels left behind. And it's not just because of the job side of it. It's just the infrastructure side of things. Our bus doesn't run on a Sunday, so you want to go to town on a Sunday, you can't. There's like there's a place where like all the shops have moved to just out of town, and the supermarket there's the next. There's a WH Smith, and not WH Smith, whatever it's fucking called now, and there's no direct bus to it. So from where we are now in the west of the city, we have to get a bus into the city and then another one to the Arniston Centre where all the shops are, and that's where all the kids want to go to because they want to go shopping and they want to hang out with their mates in Costa. I used to follow Manchester United when I was a kid. My brother and a few friends had a pre-season friendly tickets to Liverpool play, and I was given a ticket for a laugh, and I turned up in his Man U shirt. I think Carl Lane contributes to the perception of unemployed people as being families of organised, feckless scroungers. Cheers, Carla. I don't know, did she? I don't know. I've got to go back and watch Bread to see if that's the case. But that was the case of the Liver Birds, was it? Yes, but generally smaller. I only lived on the Prestwich M25 or Broughton Park M7 in Greater Manchester, so biased on the north side. You live to tell the tale, Sarah. Yeah. West Derby has some pretty affluent parts. Brookside Studios in Allerton. Yeah, no, I'm saying that it was set in Liverpool. It was set. The actual street is still there. You can go. It's a real street in Liverpool, in West Derby. But you're right. Isn't it called Mersey TV or something? Not Mersey TV. What's it? Lime Pictures. It is. And you're right. It is in Allerton. Is it not Childwall? No. It must be Childwall. It's right by the Childwall Abbey. It's just down the road from the Childwall Abbey. Are you sure it's not Childwall? Lime Pictures, Lime TV, or whatever it's called these days. I was a ginger, Specky Four Eyes too, says Saz. Yeah, Specky Four Eyes gingers for the win. He gave me one of his shirts to wear. Oh, that's really nice. My best friend is in Tel Aviv. She hates that she's a pawn. Yeah. Honestly, Cuthbert, going back to Israel, I've got friends, really good friends who are in Israel or been to Israel or Jewish in this country, and they are just so fucking angry about this whole situation because they do feel like that. They feel like they're being used as a pawn in order for Netanyahu to win this fucking election. I hope he loses. I hope he loses really badly and gets, not just yeeted out of office, but yeeted into a jail cell where he fucking belongs. And I hope that the Israelis sign up to the, the International Criminal Court, and Netanyahu sees the rest of his days on trial for his war crimes in The Hague, just like Slobodan Milosevic, who went that way. No, that wasn't the case with the Liver Birds. I am shocked when I see the intro for the Liver Birds of how dirty the Liver building is. It's so fucking dirty. But yes, look, just to say, the conflict was not unavoidable. Like in going back to Israel and Iran, leaders had the choices, and they've chosen escalation. And there is a bit of a dangerous new development with Iran, which is Iran's language has changed. The previous exchanges were often framed as limited retaliation, but now you're seeing the IRGC openly talking about 7 days of strikes, continuous attacks, expanded targeting. So that the language has changed, and so is Israel's. I mean, they've described Iran's actions as a grave mistake, and senior ministers within the Netanyahu government have talked about openly about striking deeper into Iran. And then you got that sort of the escalation ladder, haven't you? The missile attack, retaliation, counter-retaliation, civilian casualties, regional involvement. This is how wars grow, and wars very rarely stay within the borders of the countries involved in the war. They nearly always spill over, and we're seeing that now with Yemen getting involved, and also Lebanon, but also Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Yemen, and Oman. All being, involved in this, missile attacks, etc. But also the rest of us all getting involved because our prices of our energy has gone through the fucking roof because reasons, which is really a bit shit, my friends. It really is a bit shit. So yeah, Trump's administration is claiming that a deal with Iran is possible. Tehran says that negotiations can continue, but Israel appears deeply skeptical of any agreement. I mean, the nightmare scenario, this is just like a full-scale Iran-Israel war, renewed closure of the Strait of Hormuz, sustained oil shock, and the wider, there's becoming a wider regional conflict involving Hezbollah, Houthis, US forces, Gulf states. I mean, I'm hoping there's going to be a limited exchange. I'm hoping that the back-channel diplomacy resumes. I'm hoping that Trump can put enough pressure on all parties to step back and the ceasefire survives, sort of damaged but not entirely dead at the moment. But what I want to say is, going back to something I've been saying quite a lot over the last few weeks, is to try and maintain a positive, cheery disposition. And I don't want to get too bogged down in the shit that's going on in the world. Some good might come of this. For example, in this case, Trump is clearly pissed off with Israel, right? Okay, so let's take that thought experiment a bit further down the road, right? So he's pissed off with Israel. He's pissed off at Netanyahu for defying him when he said don't attack Lebanon, right? And so he's blaming Israel now for starting this again. And if oil prices skyrocket later today when when things open up in America, Trump is going to blame that on Netanyahu. So what is going to happen is he's going to be a lot less likely to go in the future with stuff that Israel want to do. And if Israel lose even a bit of support from the United States, that gives a trigger to anyone else who supports Israel to go, hang on. And we've already heard talk today about there being possibility of sanctions being brought against the Israeli regime for their actions in the West Bank, not in Gaza, but in the West Bank, where they are going in and stealing people's homes, kicking people out of their homes and at gunpoint and taking over their houses. And there is talk in the government, in the British government right now, and that will be easier if we don't get any kickback from America for doing that. And if America's pissed off with Israel, we might not get the kickback that we otherwise would have got. What's happened with Trump and what's happened with Putin, what's happened with Netanyahu, and what happens with every fucking fascist gobshite dictator since the year dot, right? Julius Caesar to these dictators of the 20th century, or even Napoleon Bonaparte, right? Overplaying their hand. Adolf Hitler overplayed his hand. And when that happens, you could argue General Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, even you could go as far as Nicolas Maduro, overplayed their hand. And so when they turned around and said to their allies, oh, we need some help here, I'm about to get kidnapped by the Americans, the people around them went, I'm just going to the shop. I'm just going to go and do something else. The USA does have a lot more nuclear booms, that's for sure. Lately seen Israel flags both far-right marchers and Iranian monarchists protest in the city centre. That's kind of weird, isn't it? The missed Garling thing is using far-right as protecting Jews from anti-Semitism as an excuse to attack Muslims. Yes. I switched to my local team before the 2000 Cardiff City all the way. I parked up in Leeds when I was a HGV driver and resting. I had a City flag on the dash. I heard someone say there's a Cardiff fan. Poorly Donkey, technically, unironically, Trump holds all the cards. UK, we've got our Trident, but America, no. Trident's the gum that took the stick out the gum and put the fresh in your breath. Okay. Look, let's be realistic. If Putin had any kind of nuclear weapons that he could actually fucking deploy, he would have deployed them by now because he's fucking desperate. He's overplayed his hand in Ukraine. Netanyahu's overplayed his hands with the Americans, as far as I'm concerned, and Trump has overplayed his hand with everything that he's done so far as president. His obsession with having his name carved into everything, and it's all fallen apart. The reason why Trump is doing this, having his name carved into everything, having coins issued and banknotes and things like that, is because he knows that no one's going to do it for him when he's dead. No one's going to want to remember him. No one's going to put up a statue to the motherfucker. No one's going to name an airport after them in their right minds. No one's going to fly into it. If you got a ticket to Trump International Airport in fucking Honolulu or somewhere, would you fly into that? Flying into somewhere called that. And a lot of people will feel that way. Overplayed his hands the way that they've gone after not just immigrants coming into America, not just people seeking asylum, but also just any legal immigrants. The way they've gone after them, the way they've shot dead American citizens on the streets in America, in public view of everybody. He's overplayed his hand, and now no one's going to turn up to a shitty World Cup because they're going to, it's too much of a headache. It costs too much money. People can't afford it. Scottish fans have been told last week that they can't come, even though they had been told that they could come. They got their visas. They got their ESTAs. They got their electronic travel authorization was granted. And so they booked their hotels, they booked the tickets for the matches, they booked all their food and everything else ready to go, and public transportation, whatever they needed to do, and the flights. And then America's just turned around at the last minute and gone, no, you can't come in. And some of those people might not be covered by insurance, by the way. Depending on your insurance policy, them saying that you can't come into the country because, we decided that you can't come in. And this idea that they must all have criminal records. No, that's not the case at all. It could be that one of the things that you got to do when you apply for an ESTA now is you got to declare all the charities you've ever given money to. So it could be the case that they've found that they signed a petition, or they've looked on the social media and they found that the Scottish fan had said something mean about Donald Trump, or they've given some money to Amnesty or some charity, Greenpeace, that the Trump administration doesn't like, and they've said no, they're coming into our country because 17 years ago they gave 50p to someone collecting for Greenpeace. Technically, unironically, Trump also. I've read that one. My Christian Iranian barber is a big fan of Trump and even Israel, and he sees Trump as their big savior, and my enemy is my friend. I think he's going to be disappointed ultimately. Yes. Acro Dave, during the final years of the trouble in Northern Ireland, Catholics started to take up Israeli flags and Republicans took up Palestinian flags. Proof that flags do indeed unite people. Catholics started to take up Israeli flags and Republicans took up Palestinian flags. Hang on, Republicans and Catholics are generally the same people? I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused by that, Acro Dave. Mr. Tisk, my Iraqi other half, both parents' roots in Iran, so many over the border. They just got their heads down, hoping for a better future. When hear from them, Jew crap, internet, border closed. Yeah. Can you imagine being obsessed with having your name on things? Do Guinness World Records count as things? Hee. Says Mystique. Not really. Because someone could beat it and then their name goes on the record. Well, they don't come and take your record away. They don't come and take your record away, lad. It's all right. It's all right. They won't come and take it away. Right, so I'm going to go on to the papers now, if you don't mind. Yeah, Phil's pointing out that after Trump publicly said that Netanyahu was under strict orders not to retaliate and that he would have no choice but to obey America, and Netanyahu's just ignored him, and Phil says made himself look like a right tit. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the papers now. If you, what do you think of the dream? So Saz, what do I think of the dream? I don't know what the dream is. What is the dream? What is the dream? Tell me about the dream. Lately seen, I've read that one. Such a local team. The mist galling thing is the right wing using. I've read that one. Sorry, I meant Protestants. Yeah. I mean, it's two sides, isn't it, of a conflict? So it's like, pick a side. But I saw someone put on Facebook the other day that they were against the Israelis' actions in Gaza, but they were also against what Ukraine is doing. And I'm like, so you don't like it when countries invade another country and start killing people, but it's okay if it's Russia doing it. I think cognitive dissonance is strong in some of these people. Anyway, so I'm going to go. Oh, by the way, I spoke to Scott this morning. Before I go on, so our friend Scott Williams, and he's back online, and he should be coming on the show tonight at 9 o'clock for stateside. So I'm going to be getting into all the bullshit that Trump has been getting up to in the last week, because it is genuinely, objectively fucking hilarious. This horrible old man who is a vindictive sicko, absolute sociopath, sadist, and he's just losing. He's just losing all over the shop. And trying to get things done, and it's just it's a bit embarrassing. Anyway, talking about a bit embarrassing, here we have the Daily Mail. How I fixed my jowls without surgery in just 10 minutes. Just Get older, it's fine. As Labour row threatens to derail boost to military, ex-NATO chiefs chilling warning. Spend now on defence or we will pay costing blood. This is the new Daily Mail campaign. Don't leave Britain defenceless. Britain's not defenceless. We're part of NATO, mate. Don't just don't sweat it too much. We're part of NATO. It's fine. I know you like to scaremonger because that's you've got no audience unless they're being absolutely terrified for no good reason. But yeah, don't worry about it too much because yeah, we're in NATO. If we get invaded, there's 31 other countries that will come to our defense. All right. Don't call us wags. Okay. Starmer ban on harmful social media for children. Under 16s could access safer sites under plans. Yep. There's Serena Williams there. Practices before a surprise comeback. So good on you, Serena. We've got Trump hits out at Israel after Iran fires rockets. Iran has launched ballistic missiles at Israel for the first time since the ceasefire was agreed 2 months ago. We're talking about that this morning. Bad vibrations. When did pop get so miserable? When did pop get so miserable? Are you kidding me? What do you mean? When did pop get? I mean, there's been sad music since forever. Like, Elvis was kind of like pop music. That was popular music. Yeah. He sung songs like Daddy's, what is it? Together We'll Find a Brand New Mommy. You remember that song? The Elvis song? Don't cry, little Johnny. Do you remember that? Do you remember American Trilogy? Was that a cheery song? Was it? Fucking GI Blues? Was it? All right, mate. But why are so miserable kids these days? And Sophie Turner saying mothers don't have time to be method actors. Fair enough. Iran fires missile barrage into Israel. This is the front cover of the Telegraph. So I'm ignoring the fact that Israel may well have started it on this occasion. There's a picture there of Emma Raducanu for absolutely no reason whatsoever. She hasn't won anything. She's just preparing for singles and doubles matches at London's Queen's Club. So, put her on the front cover because, she's such a great tennis player. I guess that's the only reason they put her on the cover. The only reason why the Telegraph constantly puts Emma Raducanu on the cover. And then we've got Trump's plan to buy Chagos Islands. Oh, for fuck's sake. The White House is considering a plan to buy the Chagos Islands. Police boss, DEI has not gone far enough. We don't have DEI in this country. It's not called that. Danger warning over Welsh snapping turtle. Yeah, don't try and get a blowjob off a Welsh snapping turtle. And Tim Stanley says, for some reason we must remain calm over Henry Novak's death. Listen, Tim Stanley, you privately educated piece of shit. His parents, his dad, went on the record saying that we should keep calm about it and we shouldn't use it as an excuse to stoke violence or racial tensions. That's what his fucking dad said, Stanley. All right, you fucking tosser. So that's why we should remain calm, you fucking arsehole. And also, this is a one-off, absolutely outrageous one-off occasion that has never happened before and will probably never happen again now. Not in my lifetime. Because it was so fucking unusual for this to happen. My Life is about beauty. Julie Newmar, who shocked the world as the original Catwoman. We've also got A Driver of Political Violence, how AI fuels anti-tech attacks. And then we've got Iran fires wave of missiles at Israel in response to strikes on Beirut. Both the Guardian and the Telegraph, they're sort of saying, well, Iran fired missiles. It's like, yeah, well, that was because Israel fired missiles at Beirut, and Iran has been saying for the last few weeks, if you keep firing missiles into Lebanon, we're going to attack you. And then they did. One of the things that we complain about is politicians doing U-turns. At least you can say, well, at least the Islamic Revolutionary Guard didn't do a fucking U-turn on this one. They said they were going to do it, and they fucking did. Anyway, allies meet for key talks on Ukraine. There we've got Vladimir Zelensky and our Prime Minister at the moment, Keir Starmer, outside number 10 with the flags there. We've got the British flag, we've got the German flag, we've got the Ukrainian flag, and we've also got the French flag. The problem is, you put a French flag on its side, it becomes the Dutch flag. You put it on its side. It's a problem with these flags when they're up a different way. They become a different flag. Isn't the German flag becoming the flag of Belgium when it's on its side? I don't know, something like that. People keep saying it's a Sikh knife. It was a Persian knife at the very least. Yeah. But yeah, he shouldn't have had it. Like, you need a special license to have that out in public, and he didn't have a special license, so he had a legal knife with him. It could have been any knife. It could have been a kitchen knife. It was illegal for him to have that. He didn't kill Henry Novak with the ceremonial knife that they have. And looking at them, the ceremonial knives that they carry are tiny. Though it's like the size of a penknife. The dream is the 20-meter statue which stands over the former Sutton Colliery, St. Helens, created by Joan Pensler, says Saz. Oh, is that the face? You drive down the M62 and there's like that white face, the elongated face. I don't like it. I don't mind public art, and I do like the Angel of the North up here as you drive towards Newcastle. But I don't like it just because it looks a bit like it's in the wrong aspect ratio. I suppose it's okay. Like, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. It's fine. It's a thing that is on the top of a hill on the left as you're driving towards Manchester. Okay, yeah, it can stay. It can stay. It's fine. Is that what it's called? The Dream? Am I thinking the right thing? Is it a face, like an elongated face? Is that the one? It's a big white monument at stone, big long face. Why the long face? I say when I drive past it. Yes, the face. That's the one. It's the big willy on the hill, Graham. Yes, yeah, it does all look like a big willy. Which is a problem with putting people's faces in the wrong aspect ratio. It ends up looking like a big willy. I told Vance he is wrong on Novak, says Lammy. This was an interview with David Lammy yesterday on the BBC. And then we've got vulnerable families dumped in poor towns. Families, including women fleeing abuse, have been illegally dumped hundreds of miles away by London councils in the practice of ripping at the social fabric of deprived towns. A Guardian investigation has found, and I think this is generally places where there's a Tory council in, or probably a refuck council now, and just being fucking horrible. Because they like being horrible. Britain won't send us back, boasts criminals, dangerous criminals thrown out the EU nations crossing the channel because they won't be sent back from England. Yeah, because of Brexit. Because of the Brexit that the Daily Express championed. They championed this Brexit. They wanted this. They wanted this exact thing to happen, and it did. There you go. Thanks, but no Yanks. US warned to stay out of migration debate. We've got Here We Vino on the front cover of the Daily Star. £1,000 bottles of wine for wags at the World Cup. Oh, fantastic. Levi Roots, How I Spend and Save Money. What a strange thing. Why would you want to talk about Levi? Okay. He's the guy who does Reggae Sauce, isn't it? Like Levi Roots, we like him. Farage paid $83,000 for events linked to anti-abortion supporters. Refuck's leaders' earnings include fees for speeches to conservative organizations in the US. Campaigners accuse American groups of attempting to influence UK policy. Refuck says has no plans to change abortion laws. Right, if you say so. Don't forget, Labour in 1997 had no plans to introduce tuition fees. Wasn't in the 97 manifesto. Put it to the testo. Burnham set to challenge Starmer within 2 weeks if he becomes an MP. That's fair enough. And then Mirror for Sam and all the kids who are lost. Bereaved families, stars and charities back campaign after horror drowning toll. Call for urgent change to stop classroom of children dying needlessly every year. This is about teaching children about how dangerous the water is. The water is fucking dangerous. And there is a fantastic cover of the Independent newspaper, which sets out one of my big bugbears about Brexit. Here we go. Europe, the way back. Each year, Brexit costs us up to £30 billion. The vote to leave the EU 10 years ago this month has cost Britain up to 1% of GDP annually, an act of sabotage equivalent to a punishing tax every day. Yeah. I think it's a lot more than that. I think that's a conservative figure. Because we've seen, estimates from other sources as being as much as 8% of our GDP, which means that you're talking more over 200 billion a year, which means that of that, about 250 billion a year, and of that, 100 billion should have been taken in tax, because tax is around 40% for things. And that's £100 billion that the Exchequer doesn't have to doesn't have to play with. Okay, over to the FT now for some sensible stories. Usually, America has remade football in its image. Yep, we're going to have a quarter-time break from adverts. Quarter-time break for adverts. The game is going to be split up into four quarters, so we're going to have a bit of stoppage where the game stops for a couple of minutes for a hydration break. One of the things that I really love about football and tennis and Formula One is the fact that it just keeps going, right? I know occasionally they'll stop for a moment to take a deep breath when they're playing tennis, but you can have a tennis match that goes on for hours and hours into the night, and it's just bang, 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 right? Okay, it just does not stop until someone keels over from exhaustion. Formula One doesn't stop unless there's a massive crash and they have to abandon the race, and you might get the safety car come out, but generally speaking, it does not stop. Football is a beautifully flowing game. We hate it when people, especially when they're on the other team, the team that you're not supporting, are time wasting. We don't like that, right? Compare and contrast with American sports, right? Basketball, fair enough, very fluid, very fast game. But you compare it to American football, they spend over an hour of every match just standing around talking to each other, getting set up for the next throw, the next pass. The games take hours because most of the time it's just spent everyone just sitting around doing nothing, waiting for the advert break to finish, waiting for everyone to get back from the bar. And then you've got baseball, which is like cricket, but even more like start-stop. Like nothing happens for ages. And there's a famous episode of The Simpsons where Homer's given up drinking and he goes to a baseball match and he never realized how boring it was. One of the things I don't like about certain sports, I mean, I've been to cricket matches, I've been to watch the golf, and it's fine. It's not like I hate those sports. But I do appreciate it when you go to a sport and it is just all in. It's just intense. It just keeps going until, the competition is over. Instead of this American way of just starting every 5 seconds. I suppose they do that in baseball, basketball as well. They stop every time they get a hoop. They have to start again. They reset and they got like 100 bloody hoops in a match. So you just stop starting all the fucking time. Whereas the idea with football is ball goes out, you grab it, you quickly throw it back in. I know people like to fanny about, especially if they're 1-0 up, but I saw some really funny YouTubers or TikTokers talking about these Americans who haven't got a clue, and there was one going on about the fact that America lost 2-1 against Germany in a friendly, and they were like, "This is proof that we're going to win this." I'm like, "You lost, my friend. I know you don't know much about football, but you lost the match." "Yeah, but we played really well. We got one goal against the Germans. We can win this." I'm like, but bless them. For the people who said leave means leave, would say beans means Heinz if Farage told them to. Yeah. Brexit means Brexit. Full English Brexit means full English Brexit. Fuck Brexit, says Mr. Tiskia. I was watching a random YouTuber drive through London and there was a Banksy statue. It was so cool. Yes, there is a Banksy statue at the moment, which is brilliant. US TV, more ads than anything. Yeah. This says Americans need to take a break from there to reset their attention. Pete says, my doctor told me that I should take up sport to help with my mental health. So now I put a dartboard up in my back kitchen. I'm feeling really athletic now. And Paulie says, my introduction to the beautiful game was waking up and having to go to the toilet and figure out I'll wait for the first commercial break. In North America, there's a commercial break every 3 seconds. Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's the Americanization of football. We now have quarter time. For adverts, a big bang Brexit reversal is not essential. It will certainly help. Ukraine strikes there. Russia attacks nuclear store. And spent nuclear fuel shortage near Chernobyl was left with gaping holes and rubble and debris littering the area after it was struck by a Russian drone yesterday. So fucking irresponsible. OpenAI plots a revamp of ChatGPT as high-value super app ahead of listing. Bigger role for AI agents and coding. Hunt for profitable products. Push to take on Anthropic. Good luck with that. ChatGPT is a bit shit, to be honest with you. Of the three main chat people, I think Anthropic's Claude is better. Vote blame Trump. Voters blame Trump for higher prices with tough midterm elections looming. Donald Trump's approval rating on U.S. inflation and economy slid sharply in May, according to a new FT poll that shows voters souring in his handling of living costs, and pushed higher up by the Iran, which have been pushed higher up by the Iran war. Now, I think the what was it, 8%? Let's have a look. This Americans economy. I'm trying to find out what this exact stat is. I'll give you. Recent polling indicates that only 8% of Americans view the current US economy as excellent or good. 8%. So that's 92% of Americans like, yeah, no good. Strain on chemical supply chains brings INEOS relief. For much of the past year, hedge funds have piled up bets against INEOS, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's sprawling chemicals empire, as a downturn in the sector raised doubts over the sustainability of its $19 billion debt pile. But in recent months, they have been forced to unwind their positions in the Middle East, as the Middle East crisis disrupts chemical supply chains and pushes prices higher, giving the group a much-needed shot in the arm. The question is, can it last? Well, I cannot hope not, because I hate Sir Jim Ratcliffe and I hope he fails, which is a bit shit for the people who work in the industry. I feel sorry for them. Sorry about the quality of the image here. This is a very low-res picture. Generally is for the front cover of newspapers, because they think that you're going to print this onto bits of paper and hand it out to people, so no one will buy the actual newspaper, I guess. Number 10 scours for savings to deliver defence boosts. Sir Keir Starmer is locked in the 11th hour wrangling with ministers over capital spending cuts to fund an expected £15 billion uplift to defence, which wouldn't be necessary if it wasn't for Trump. Police cautioned over AI. Some police forces have been told to stop using AI to prepare court statements and carry out criminal justice tasks. There were fears that proceedings are being tainted by faulty outputs. Stop using it. Stop using it. It's not the be-all and end-all. Banker scolds FCA stance. The head of a London-based investment bank has accused the watchdog of eroding free speech. Fuck off. Tanker owners fear crash. The Strait of Hormuz closure helped power record profits, but owners are now braced for a steep drop in the rates that they can charge. Lebanon hit by air raids. Israel has carried out limited airstrikes in Beirut's southern suburbs, days after an angry phone call from the White House forced Benjamin Netanyahu to abandon a major raid. Banks vie for Italy tie-up. Fed pressed for rate cut. Donald Trump has piled pressure on Kevin Walsh, the new head of the Fed, Federal Reserve in America, before his first meeting as chair, by demanding lower rates days after job reports fuel best bets on higher borrowing costs, harrowing borrowing costs. And Insight closes in on Star. The US biotech is nearing a deal for up to $2 billion to buy privately held drug disorder drug developer Star Therapeutics, amongst a wave of acquisitions by mid-sized drug makers. So, dear friends, right, I'm going to get off in a little bit because we're coming up to 2 hours into the show. But if anyone would be so kind as to drop a super chat in, or two people were kind enough to drop a super chat in, we will hit our goal, and therefore we could release the confetti, and Diz will be very happy for the rest of eternity, I'm sure. So if you want to do that, you've got a couple of minutes left to do it before I toddle off. But before I do that, I'll read your messages. My doctor told me to take up sport to help with my mental health, so I put a dartboard up in my back kitchen. I'm feeling really athletic now. Pony Donkey, read that one. What's next? No more of the ball over the line. Doritos sponsor the quarter ball over the quarter line for the goal. I remember when the 94 World Cup, when America was twats. But when they had the World Cup in 1994, and Budweiser ran a satirical advert where they talked about having things like full-time multi-ball, when the advertising hoardings at the side of the pitch went up and all these balls came out, and it was a bit like a pinball table and you get multi-ball. And it was a joke. It was a joke. It was like, you handle the football, we'll handle the beer. And it was a good campaign. But now it's like, we'll handle the beer and we'll also handle the football. And we're like, okay. Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat, making it 4 out of 5 on our rocky road to Confetti, which is a movie with Tom Hanks in, isn't it? The Road to Confetti, something like that. He plays a gangster who's trying to get out with his kid. Acro says, my doctor told me to take up extreme solitaire, and now I'm more depressed than ever. Acro Dave, at the time, I thought they should have sent the Dangerous Sports Club to find Osama bin Laden, extreme hide and seek. Yep. I used to watch MotoGP when I had a TV long ago. Yeah. A bit like rugby union, some fat arse needs to stop. Give me league any day. Northern rugby, not Southern Tory heads up arses every 5 minutes. Bit of rugby union stroke versus rugby league attitude there. Quarter time in soccer is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Trump will claim the FIFA trophy for himself too, because Trump, yeah. He'll tell that the team has to have a copy of the trophy and he'll keep the original for himself. But they're taking his name off. They're taking his name off the Trump Memorial Center. The Washington, the center in Washington, the Kennedy Center. The Trump and Kennedy Center. It's like, what? Really? Is this what we're doing now? Is this where we're going? In between cheese rolling, I just do extreme ironing. Brilliant. Listen, give us a like before you check out. And also, if you would be so kind as to subscribe. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and then you can join in with the chat. We can have a discussion each morning, 2 hours. We sit here, we talk about what's in the news, we make jokes, we tell tall tales and try and put the world to rights. So if you want to join in with that, please do that. And if you have already hit the subscribe button and you are subscribed, please hit the bell notification icon. Coming up today at 1 o'clock, we've got Graham Rights and Wrongs, where I will be writing the 5th chapter of my magnum opus, if you want to call it that, which is the sequel to Man of the World, Top of the World. Getting through it. Hopefully by the end of the month we'll have some kind of manuscript together. I'm only halfway through January, I think, so we're not doing too well. But just to give you some idea of how it's going to go, so January, I ended up in Iraq. And then in February, I went home to the UK overland to get visas and surprise my mum. And then in March, the end of February, I was in I ticked Libya, and then the end of February and the beginning of March, I ticked Libya and Algeria off the list. Then it was over to the Caucasus, so Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and over the Caspian Sea to Kazakhstan. And then all around the Stan countries. Then I went to Iran, which is fantastic. Got lots of stories about that. Then I'm going to be going in the Middle East. Got stuck in the Middle East for quite a long time because it was difficult with visas and things like that. Got over to Eritrea somehow, which is remarkable. Watched a football match in the middle of the street in Eritrea. And then came back to the Middle East, came back to the Arabian Peninsula. And went over to Dubai, then spent a month in Dubai trying to get out of Dubai. Then finally got on a ship, took me to Pakistan, India. Then I spent time in India trying to get over to the Maldives. That didn't work. So tried to get over to Sri Lanka. That didn't work either. So instead, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan I just stepped into and went, oh, I'm in Bhutan, and came out again. And then over the Himalayas into Tibet. So 7 days in Tibet. Bit like Brad Pitt, except he was 7 years. And then through China. So you got North Korea, South Korea, Mongolia, Japan, Taiwan, and so all the Southeast Asian countries, including the Philippines, and then down to East Timor, then over to West Papua, and then to Papua New Guinea. And then it ends pretty much in Australia at the end of the year, without giving too much away, with leaving me with 16 countries at the end of the second year of the Odyssey Expedition left to go. It was a roller coaster, an absolute roller coaster. I had a lot of really good laughs in the second year, a lot of funny as fuck situations that I got myself into, a lot of funny predicaments that I got myself into. I didn't get put in jail, which was nice. And so if you want to join me in writing that, look, it's ASMR. Don't come on there if you're expecting me to be talking at the camera for 2 hours. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm literally going to be writing stuff, and you can have it on the background or whatever. But please don't come into the chat and say, "This is boring. Why aren't you doing something?" I'm like, this is the point of me doing this. But it's more for me. It's more for me to get my arse into gear. So I'm like, 1 o'clock, going to write a chapter, and I keep going until I finish the chapter, and then I'm like, okay, and then I get on with the rest of my day. 9 o'clock tonight, stateside with Scott Williams. Obviously, we haven't had Scott on the show for quite a long time now, so it'd be nice to have him back on the show talking about what's going on in the States, and that should be a laugh. And Scott is always good company. And tell you else is always good company, Saz. Thank you very much, Saz, for the £2 super chat, which allows me to press the super chat button, but also allows me to press the very, very special confetti button. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom! Yes! Confetti! Beautiful. Thanks, everyone. Have a great morning. Be kind to yourself and each other. Yay! Magnificent octopus a la Baldrick, says Carrie Flash. What? Anyway, listen, take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for watching. And hopefully at 1 o'clock or at 9 o'clock today in the evening, we'll see you again. Otherwise, morning brew tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Yeah, sound good? Sound good? See you there. We'll talk about what the fuck is going on in the world. Maybe I'll do something about Farage, because it's always fun when we all gang together and pick on Farage. He deserves it, doesn't he? Anyway, so until next time, thanks very much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.